without any background whatsoever in software development, I started using it right away, and I started showcasing it to a couple of my development partners. I'm like, hey, do you think I could use this instead of Cucumber? And, they're like, don't talk to me, talk to the managers. So I did. Got in front of we have a lean stack team here at FIS. They're sort of the gatekeepers. If you want to introduce a new technology, they don't want you just using anything. There's, a process to go through in order to get approval for a new tool. So there was a number of demos involved. I gave my first demo to maybe, 3 or 4 folks, and they were kind of blown away, right? And I found on my calendar within the next couple of weeks, there's 4 or 5 additional meetings where these other folks wanted to see what I was showcasing, and that blew up. There's dozens of folks now who throughout my organization are using Karate. Even folks who were developers or are developers. They were using tools like JGiven or JBehave, which some of the folks in the audience here might be familiar with. But they're also Cucumber style, I would say. Gherkin syntax. It reads like plain English, but again, it's Java based, and the glue behind it, there's a lot of Java code to write in order to get that stuff to work. And with Karate, if nothing else, even if you're a Java developer, very comfortable with writing code, just the lines of code that you save from using Karate as opposed to one of those other solutions, it's kind of a no-brainer.
I have a developer which bring a smile to me when he say it's such a delight to use Karate to write automation tests, and he likes to write things. And I feel like, okay, that bring a smile to me. That means I made the right choice in getting them to use it. Yeah. Because if you find it's a joy to write tests, then obviously you enjoy writing it, you will write more, right? As compared to something is quite painful to use, I don't think anyone wants to use it often. Probably after once or twice, they say, no, I give up. And that's probably why most of the misconception of UI automation is, oh, it's so flaky, it's so difficult to control, the elements keep changing. We don't want to do UI automation anymore. We want to do manual testing.
So in that sense, in my current team, we all use Karate. I mean, I use it way more than your average developer, but each of the developers are using it as well. Whether it be writing a net new test case, because I just don't have time to do it, or if there's some existing tests that are broken because of some new thing we introduced, rather than them every single time asking me, hey, Anthony, can you update your scripts? They have the background, the knowledge to go in and do that for me. So yeah, it's sort of like a symbiotic relationship, if you will. And it works out quite nicely. And again, from my standpoint, what Karate's allowed me to do is, without a developer skill set, be able to support a team of developers and write automated tests. And what it's allowed the software developers to do is, without ever having heard of Karate before, just immediately look at a feature file and say, oh yeah, I know exactly what's going on here. I know exactly what Anthony did if I was the one who wrote the test originally. And I know exactly what to do to update it. They don't have to ask any questions of me. Hey, where do I go to fix this? It's just very simple and easy to use. And, by virtue of that, I think everyone's embraced it.
There were a few functional folks in our team who are very comfortable in using Karate, because of the business language syntax. It's more like a BDD driven thing, not exactly, but it's more of a BDD syntax. So definitely it was easier for onboarding non-functional folks. And at the same time, developers, it almost served like a best of both worlds. Like, developers use the power of the features, like, for example, your matching assertions, data driven. Like, for example, if you have 10 rows in a JSON, and if you want to match, you don't have to write lines of code. You can do a match each and validate everything. So it's a huge productivity boost not for the non-programmers, but for developers as well. And then the seamless integration, containerization, you can run all the tests in a pipeline or even a Kubernetes cluster. It's both developer friendly as well as non-programmer friendly, I would say.
Honestly, I didn't like it at first because it packed everything into one framework. All the different kinds of testing, like API testing, UI testing, performance tests, everything in one. And it makes Java my favorite language, or as I always say, the language I hate the least, and JavaScript, the language I probably hate the most. So it mixed those languages, it mixed those test approaches. So I was not a big fan, and I was probably the only one who voted for the rest assured way. But after working with it for a while, after writing tests and seeing how quickly unexperienced testers could grasp the idea how to write those tests, I completely changed my mind. And right now, actually, I'm also evaluating the Karate UI testing capabilities to see how far we can push this, if we can replace parts of test approach with Karate in the future. So yeah, from just using it, I changed my mind.
And coming to event-driven, right, whether it's Kafka or any other provider, event-driven provider, so we still have the ability to test all those kind of services. So, yes, we in fact in our current project also we test event-driven and messages. So Karate has that feature, right, polling feature. When you run a get method, you can do a polling and then find out like whether that event has got processed. So yes, it is being supported.
Karate, they added UI capabilities to it. So, okay, we'll take a look into it. And started looking into it. And it was so easy to do UI tests with it. It was easy for API tests, and then it was easy for UI tests. And because that framework did both together, it was easy to bring these things together. So then we very quickly stopped using our old framework for any new tests. We continued to maintain those tests as needed, but very quickly, all of our new tests were done in Karate, partly for this capability to do API tests and UI tests in the same framework, and even to use them together, which is that hybrid concept, so that we can eliminate some of, a hybrid is like a hybrid vehicle. You've got gasoline and battery. You've got, do you want an electric car? Or do you want a gas-powered car? And they both have advantages and disadvantages. And well, maybe we can use the advantages of one of these things to compensate for the weaknesses in the other. And we found that with Karate's ability to do both of these things, we could improve our UI tests, make them faster and more stable, and make the UI tests focus on the part of the UI that we want to test, and do the rest of that setup using the API or using databases, sending database queries to set up the test or to clean up previous tests. And doing that through the front end can be very, very slow and error prone. And I might be getting off topic a little bit, but that's why we found that Karate was a really good solution for our needs. And we ended up with over 2,000 tests, I think, in Karate before I left Riskalyze. So compared to that, we had about 200 in our old framework and about 2,000 in the Karate framework.
In the midst of traveling and lots of meetings, I basically had to put together a quick presentation proof of concept using Karate for our, like I said, API endpoints. And it was just an amazing experience. It was such a breath of fresh air, just being able to within I think like an hour or two, I had a small test suite that I was able to execute pretty quickly. Great results, assertions, all of that was just in place. It was just very easy and joyful to work with. And so that really, and then of course later on that Karate became, of course, the deeply embedded into our development process. We were actually using Gradle for building. So running integration tests were part of our build process. We had quality gates set, code scans and everything. So it was just like really well embedded, integrated tool into our development process. And it was a great experience. And
actually like that the extent of documentation which Karate had right initially. So that actually it was a huge productivity boost for our team. The level of details of documentation, examples, and also follow-up questions on Stack Overflow. That was very extensive. Kind of the attention to detail was amazing.
Karate is not made to create Java UIs, right? But you can, because Karate lets you manipulate Java objects, anything that's out there in the libraries, anything that's out in the ecosystem of Java. If you can get it into your class path, you can, in the middle of a test, decide, I want this thing. And you can just pull it in, create an object, and manipulate the object to, open a PDF file and parse it or something. You don't have to guess to see if this test works. You can just try it dynamically. And I suddenly realized, if I can do all of that with any Java library, what if I just pulled in the Java version of Playwright and started playing with it? And I went from the idea in my head to it working in about 20 minutes.